Okay, we're live. So today's topic is regarding fat loss, regarding alcohol, where that fits in, and specifically hydration or the effects of being dehydrated. So we've all been there, haven't we? You have a few beers and all of a sudden you start pissing a bit more. Maybe you're on a night out and you go into the toilet a bit more frequently than you would do maybe if you'd not had a couple of beers. And you might notice when you wake up, your piss can become a bit of a dark yellow colour. That's the dehydration kicking in. I'm going to talk to you in a minute about why, to what extent we actually get dehydrated when we have a few beers, and more importantly, guys, the consequences of that dehydration when it comes to your fat loss. I'm not here to talk about the kind of whole health thing. We've already addressed that these series of blog posts are not about kind of people that are drinking to excess. We're not talking about, how to counter-effect the effects of being a complete pisshead. We're talking about working a few beers in every week, guys, and still being in good shape and still training hard. So yeah, we've been there, haven't we? We wake up night after we've had we only maybe need a couple of beers, a few beers, and the piss has gone like a real dark yellow colour, and that's causing us some damage in terms of getting results. So what I want to look at first, up on the whiteboard here, just to illustrate this, I want to look at the facts first of having a couple of beers, because you might think, well, dehydration, what actual effects is it really having on me? What are we talking about? Are we talking about something on a small scale, something on a big scale, something that's going to really affect my fat loss, something that's going to really affect my performance in the gym, something that's going to really affect the ability for me to build muscle tissue and look like a guy that's in good shape? Are we talking about that? Are we talking about something small? I've drawn this up to give you an example, and this is a fact, okay? If you drink 2 bottles of beer, all right? So let's just say that I've rounded this down a little bit to make the numbers a bit more manageable, all right? I know 2 bottles of beer might be slightly more than 400 ml, but let's just say you have 2 bottles of beer, which is 400 ml, all right? And you take that in and you drink that beer and you start to get happy and you feel good, okay? But we start pissing a bit more, okay? So we've took in 400 ml. If that was water, you would probably piss out 400 ml. So we take 400 ml of fluid in, and if it's water, we piss out 400 ml. With beer, something different happens. Let's zoom out. Whoa, what's that? We're now pissing out 600 ml. So that's taking fluid out of the body now. So let's recap on this, because this is important. This is the crux of it, that you understand this, guys. You have 2 bottles of beer. Okay, let's just call that 400 ml. All right? You take that beer in, and sometime later you need to go to the bathroom. Okay? You go for a piss, and we're pissing out more. We're actually pissing out 200 ml more. All right? So 600 ml. 3 bottles of beer worth. Okay? Now, that's the facts about what happens. So I'm just going to hold the camera still on that for a second, where you can just understand that. Morning, Scotty Ogden. Morning, Mark Harrison. Okay, so that is a fact of to what degree you get dehydrated, and that is what dehydration is. Morning, Caroline Barrow. So what I want to look at now with you is what's the impact of that dehydration? How's that dehydration affecting fat loss? How's it affecting performance? How's it affecting decision making? So we're going to come over here now, and we're going to look at when we're dehydrated, our appetite is going to change. So the amount of food we think we need to eat, which is controlled by a couple of different hormones, will change when we're dehydrated. So we're not talking specifically about the alcohol per se. We're now talking about dehydration and the effects of being dehydrated. Okay, so when we are dehydrated, our appetite changes. 2 key hormones will get altered inside of the body, which will make you want to eat more food. Number 2, our decision making will be affected. Now that's decision making across the board, all right? But specifically what we're talking about here when we're talking about being in shape is decision making around food and what food that you're going to go and eat. Number 3, your motivation to do exercise, motivation to go and do a training session will be affected. So your body's going to be in a bit of a threat mode when it's dehydrated. Your body's going to be in a bit of a stressed out mode. When you're stressed, your body is not going to want to release fat, and it's going to drive you to lower your activity level, all right? So essentially, you're going to find it difficult to be motivated to go out and do a training session. Okay, and point number 4, if you do get a training session in, your performance will be decreased. So we all remember the Lucozade Sport adverts, don't we? Like a few years ago, maybe in the 90s or early 2000s, where they had like some stat, I can't even remember what it is, you could probably Google it, but it was some stat saying, like, you know, this percent of being dehydrated, it was only like 1 or 2%, will affect your performance like this much. All right, if someone can Google that and put that in the comments, that'd be great. But the top and bottom of it is if you're dehydrated, your performance will decrease. So when we are dehydrated, and we're specifically talking about drinking alcohol, okay, we're pissing out more than we're taking in, that is what's called dehydrating. It's a diuretic, it's dehydrating us. When we are dehydrated, our appetite will change, we will want to eat more food. Okay, our decision making will be affected. Now this is across the board, this might be at work, this might be any decisions you're making, but specifically around food, if we're talking about fat loss and building muscle. Your motivation to train will be decreased, okay? And if you do train, your performance is going to be decreased. We could probably build out a bigger list here, but I've got some stuff I need to move on to now, so I wanted to make this video really short. So yeah, therefore, 4 basic points. Now the thing that's really frustrating about this is the answer is so simple and it requires so little effort to counteract those negative effects that we've just talked about, those 4 effects that I've wrote up on the board. Like I said, there is more that we're not going to go into them. To counter-effect that, the answer is so simple, guys. It's such a simple answer. And it frustrates when we get clients in the gym and we make them aware about dehydration, but they might not be like following this really, really simple solution. It's a solution that like, you could just, it's just a matter of just doing it. It's so easy, guys, and I'm going to tell you what that is. But first, I feel a bit dehydrated, so I'm going to get a drink. Ollie Wayne! Ollie!
Yeah, bro.
Are you watching this?
Yeah, we are.
Are you hydrated?
I am.
Oh, that's good. Right, so the solution, are you ready? The solution is to make sure that whatever you weigh in kilos, alright, you're consuming 35 millilitres per kilo. Alright, so I'll work this out for you. If you are a 100 kilo person, you want to be taking on board every day 3.5 litres of water. Alright, so that everyone I've got there, text messages here, back on board. That everyone that we've got there, that I'm taking a drink from there, is 1.5 litres, yeah? 1.5 litres. So you would, if you're a 100 kilo person, to drinking like 2 of one of them, and then maybe like another 100 mil, another 500 mil after that, 3.5 litres. All right. For most of us guys, if you don't want to do the maths, then that's fair enough. For most of us, this is going to be between like 2 and 4 litres. This is per day, guys, and it's important for your hydration that you space that out. So don't just like neck it all before you go to bed because you've not drunk any water all day. Make sure you're actually like spacing out your water intake throughout the day. So aim to have drunk half your water by lunchtime. And it's that simple, guys, all right? So if you're going on a night out, it's even more, not a night out, but if you're having a few beers even, it's even more important that you are hydrated like going into that, because you need to be aware that the beer or the alcohol is going to dehydrate you, all right? But just generally speaking, guys, it's just gains on the table that people aren't aware of. Like, just a simple thing like drinking a couple of them every day and making sure you're adequately hydrated, you're going to get those benefits we've talked about. Your appetite's going to be stable. You're going to be making better food decisions and better decisions overall in your life. You're going to be more motivated in general, especially when it comes to exercise. And when you do train, you're going to perform at a higher level. They're 4 simple wins, guys, and it's just a basic habit. So get this in, guys. To read the rest of the blog, post around kind of how to fit a bit of alcohol in every week and still be in good shape, I want you to go to the link, all right, might be above this video or below it. Go to the link, and we've done a blog post and we've talked about other topics as well, like how to adjust your food slightly around the weekends to you know, build in a little bit of alcohol, or how to manipulate your training, like how to sort of change things a little bit within your training to make sure you can build in having a couple of beers if that's what you want to do. And I think this blog post, guys, a summary of it is that even if you're not interested in having a couple of beers, you could implement all these points that we've talked about and just get even better results. All right, and that's the beauty of this blog post. All right, peace out. Speak to you soon.